The rain was relentless that Tuesday night, drumming against the hotel's glass walls like it had a story to tell. Mia wiped the counter for the third time, though there wasn't a single crumb left. The lobby was quiet, except for the man in the corner, hunched over a cup of coffee. He came every evening at the same hour. Always alone. Always the same black coat, slightly worn at the cuffs. His eyes, tired but kind, would follow her briefly before returning to whatever thoughts seemed to weigh him down. "Cold night," she offered with a smile, bringing him a fresh pour on the house. He nodded, almost surprised by the gesture. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice soft, as if used to kindness. Mia didn't ask questions. She knew what loneliness looked like. Her father had been the same after her mother passed, silent, withdrawn, only coming alive when someone noticed him. That night, when her shift ended, she saw him still there, staring at the rain. For some reason, she sat down across from him. They spoke of small things, coffee, the weather, books, and something about his quiet gratitude stayed with her. What Mia didn't know, as she laughed at one of his rare jokes, was that the man in the worn black coat wasn't a drifter or a down-on-his-luck traveler. He owned the very hotel she worked in, and tomorrow, her life was about to change in ways she couldn't imagine. The next morning, Mia arrived early, still thinking about their conversation. There was something disarming about the man's humility. In a world where guests barked orders or scrolled through their phones without looking up, he listened, really listened. She spotted him again, this time near the front desk, speaking quietly to the manager. His black coat was replaced by a tailored navy suit, and his posture carried a confidence she hadn't seen before. Mia slowed her steps, unsure if it was the same man. But then he turned, and those same tired but kind eyes met hers. "Mia," he said, as if testing how her name sounded in his mouth. "Good to see you." She nodded, confused. "You clean up well," she teased lightly, but the smile on his face hinted at a secret. Before she could ask, the manager called her over. "Mia, this is Mr. Bennett." "He's just a guest," he interrupted, eyes twinkling. For now, the rest of the day felt oddly charged. Every time she glanced toward the lobby, Mr. Bennett was there, reading, taking calls, or simply watching the rain again. And every time, he'd lift his gaze to meet hers, like they shared an unspoken understanding. Later, as she refilled the sugar jars, an elderly couple approached her. "You're the young lady Mr. Bennett spoke about," they said warmly. "He told us you make the best coffee in the city." Mia laughed it off, but inside, she wondered, why was this man telling strangers about her? And why did it feel like the beginning of something she couldn't yet name? What she didn't see was the quiet discussion he was having upstairs about her future and an offer that would change everything. That evening, Mia's shift dragged on. A sudden rush of guests had checked in, bringing with them dripping umbrellas and impatient voices. She handled each with her usual warmth, but her thoughts kept drifting toward the man in the navy suit. When the lobby finally quieted, she noticed him at the counter, a small takeout bag in hand. "You didn't take a break," he said. "Figured you might be hungry." She blinked in surprise. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," he interrupted gently. "Kindness should go both ways, don't you think?" They sat in the corner with steaming bowls of soup. He asked about her life, not in the casual way guests sometimes did, but as though her words mattered. She found herself talking about her dreams, owning a little cafe someday, a place where people could linger without feeling rushed. She confessed how hard it was saving on her current wage, how she'd been sending most of her money to help her younger brother through college. He listened without judgment, his expression thoughtful. "You remind me of someone," he said finally. "Someone who never let hard days stop her from caring about others." Before Mia could ask who, the manager approached. "Mr. Bennett, the conference room is ready," she said, her voice respectful, almost nervous. As he stood, he gave Mia a smile that lingered just long enough to make her wonder what she didn't know. Later that night, after her shift ended, she passed the closed conference doors. Inside, she heard his voice, firm, confident, discussing plans for staff changes and new training programs. And then, she heard it, her name. Mia froze outside the conference room, her hand still on the cleaning cart. Mia has the right instincts, Mr. Bennett was saying. She treats people like they matter. That's the kind of culture I want here. A pause. Then the manager's voice, hesitant. Sir, she's a front desk clerk. Are you suggesting? Yes, Bennett said simply. I'll handle the details. Mia stepped back, heart pounding. Why was the owner of a hotel, because she was certain now, talking about her? And in that tone, as if she were more than just an employee who refilled coffee cups and smiled through complaints. When the meeting ended, she tried to slip past unnoticed, but he spotted her. Mia, he called, walking toward her with that easy smile. You're still here. Finishing up, she said quickly, forcing a polite smile. He studied her for a moment, as though deciding something. Tomorrow, come by the top floor at 10 a.m. I like to talk properly. She almost laughed. The top floor? That's the executive suite area. I don't think. You can, he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Trust me. All night, she tossed and turned, her mind full of questions. What did you want to discuss? Why her? By morning, nerves twisted in her stomach as she stepped into the gleaming elevator, pressing the button for the top floor. When the doors opened, a receptionist greeted her by name and led her into a sunlit office with sweeping views of the city. Mr. Bennett was standing by the window, hands in his pockets. He turned, and for the first time, he didn't look like just a lonely man in a coffee corner. He looked like someone who could change her life in an instant. Mia, he said warmly, motioning for her to sit. I suppose you figured out I'm not just another guest. She gave a small, nervous laugh. The suit gave it away, and the fact that you have an office on the top floor. He smiled, but his eyes were serious. I own this hotel, and a few others. I usually travel to check on them quietly. No formalities, no staff knowing. I see more that way. She swallowed hard, unsure what to say. When I first saw you in the lobby, he continued, you didn't just serve coffee. You made it feel like home. You noticed people. You cared. That's rare. Mia shook her head. I just try to be kind. People have hard days, and sometimes a smile helps. That's exactly why I want you to run something new, Bennett said, leaning forward. I'm launching a guest relations program. Personalized service, hospitality with heart. I want you to lead it. Higher pay, full training, room to grow. The words hit her like a wave. Me? I don't have the experience. You have what matters, he said simply. Everything else can be taught. Mia's eyes burned, and she blinked quickly. She thought of her brother's tuition, of the dream cafe that always felt too far away. Why me? She whispered. Because, he said, his voice softening, someone once gave me a chance when I didn't believe I deserved it. And I've never forgotten how it changed my life. For a moment, silence filled the room, the city sprawling below them like a promise. And then, slowly she smiled. 2 weeks later, Mia stood in the same lobby where it had all begun, but everything felt different. Her new uniform was crisp, her badge gleaming with the title Guest Relations Coordinator. The manager who once barely glanced at her now spoke with a newfound respect, and the staff greeted her warmly, curious about the change. But it wasn't the title or the pay that filled her with pride. It was the purpose. She now spent her days making sure guests felt seen and valued, remembering their names, anticipating their needs, finding small ways to brighten their stay. It was exactly what she'd always done, only now she had the tools and authority to make it bigger. One rainy afternoon, she spotted a man in the corner, hunched over his coffee, just like Bennett had been the night they met. His suit was worn, and his shoulders slumped with quiet defeat. Without hesitation, Mia walked over with a fresh pour, placing it gently in front of him. Cold night, she said with a smile. The man looked up, startled, and for a split second, she saw her old self in his eyes. The uncertainty, the fatigue, the quiet hope for kindness. As she walked back to the counter, she caught Bennett watching from across the lobby. He didn't say a word, just gave her a small, knowing nod, the kind that said, you understand now. Mia did understand. Opportunities weren't just given to climb ladders. They were given to lift others up, too. And maybe someday, someone would tell a story about a young woman who once thought she was just a clerk, until she discovered she could change lives, one cup of coffee at a time.